Hello, thank you for joining us. Today we are going to cover how a DevOps company does DevOps. In particular, we'll go how JFrog paved way of using JFrog products, actually how we use Artifactory in order to build our next gen of products. About me, so my name is Noam Zilberman. I'm a senior director of productivity at JFrog, and I drive efficiency and effectiveness in all engineering processes with a focus on R&D, on dev. And prior experience to JFrog was at eBay and HP, and I handled let's say, large-scale system, high traffic, 5 nines, all of this domain is my bread and butter. What are we going to cover today in the agenda? We are going to cover, first of all, what was our goal? What is the freestyle versus paved way? What is the JFrog paved way in the R&D environments? And we will show you some live system dashboards so you'll get a feeling in how is the experience for a JFrog developer. What was our goal? Number one was to drive innovation, and we wanted to drive it in a way that it is fast, it is secure, and it's within budget. So this is what we wanted to drive. While it is secure, it's within budget, and with a high uptime, and something that we all need to keep in mind is that JFrog supports both on-prem customers and SaaS platform, meaning our cloud customers. And of course, we need that our dev environments would support both use cases, the two types of customers, the on-prem and the SaaS platform. Let's go in the industry and also at JFrog, what is freestyle versus the paved way or with the guardrails? Freestyle, I'm an engineer. I want to do fast prototype. I want to explore new technologies. There is something cool. I saw some new open source, some new technology. I want to experiment it. I don't want to have any boundaries in this area. I need to have minimal guardrails because it's not yet production, it's not yet with the customer. I'm exploring. As you may know, part of the experiments succeed, part may fail, and I want to run here fast. So the engineer has here full read-write permission and ability to deploy whatever he or she needs to do that. This is the freestyle. Now, let's assume that the experimental was successful. Once it's successful, then we start to get into the enterprise grade guidelines. We need to have it secured. We need to have high quality delivery. Of course, all the guardrails of quality, security, FinOps should be there. And naturally, we need to separate between the read permissions, the deploy permissions. We start in the paved way, we start to work like in production. So this is actually the two ways, two paths that we need to enable our engineers. And if I go one step further, key is how we spin the correct environments. So to enable this freestyle versus paved way. So in spinning up the environment, the engineer or the developer should have the right level of hardening. Freedom flexibility is required on the early stage. As said, when the engineer explores a new technology, a new open source, doesn't need to have there too much of a guidance, but hardening is needed as the engineer start to move into the Paveway. And how do we do that? We do that, first of all, we enable our engineer self-service. We want them not to file tickets. We want to have everything in a self-service manner. So from that perspective, I, at any time of the day, have a great idea for innovation. I want to be self-managed. I don't want any obstacle in my way. And of course, we need to monitor and remediate the environments so they are all the time up and running. And as said, we use JFrog products. So as an example, if at production we have our own production, we have Artifactory 7.69, then we will develop on 7.69 the next version, which will be the 7.7 and the 7.8. So actually, we are using our own products in order to develop the next gen, the new features, also new innovation. All of that is done with our products. Bear with me for a second. I say that I'm stuck here. So I would go to the next slide. Okay. And back to sharing. Bear with me. Okay. So back here. So what are the practices that we use? Meaning, what is the funnel that we use from the exploratory till the production-like environment? So I said, in the exploratory, no hardening. In the freestyle, it's innovate, but with more support of company tools and processes. Because after exploratory, let's say I'm an engineer, I decided it's a cool thing. Okay, I want to move to the next phase. Okay, here I start to get more and more like the version control, like the pipelines, like any additional security hardening that we would like to get. However, it's still freestyle. It's still not rigid. Let's assume that I tested and evaluated my innovation, and now I think it's good to go to production. Here, I need to evaluate that my innovation in a production-like environment, because till now I was working on something that is good, but it's good on my environment. And now I need to say that once I go to production, it would succeed and will not break or will not have regression effects. And of course, I would also need to run stress testing to make sure that it would work in a scale of production. As said, our customers are both on-prem and on cloud, and we need to make sure that product-wise, our products are able to carry the load and stress of the on-prem and also of the cloud. Now, what was our starting point? Let's say JFrog always had the elements, all the above elements, meaning it's not something new. And during 22 and 23, we harden our process, we build them to scale with self-service. As an example, one of the steps that we did was to move JFrog R&D cluster to JFrog production cluster, meaning right now our R&D is identical to any large customer on our SaaS offering, and that enables us to scale from data transfer of 50 terabyte to over 100 petabyte of data transfer, meaning our engineers are able now to run more and more automation, more and more things. So we had here a journey. We had all the elements, and the journey was to bring our processes to the next level, to the enterprise grade that we are able to handle these loads. This table demonstrates the different phases. As said, in the exploratory, this is how we explore new technologies. In the freestyle, it's not yet production, yet we gain access to all JFrog assets, and as said, we work with JFrog products. We'll shortly show you the admin console, how we run it. All is based on JFrog products, meaning this is how a DevOps company does its own DevOps. After the freestyle, we have a standalone production lab for functional testing, meaning it would have standalone environments with the shared RDS, and the engineer, and we'll see it very shortly, is able to spin up an environment self-service, doesn't need to ask for anything. If functionality-wise it works, it would go into the load and performance. And as said, the load and performance are key because we need to support both the on-prem and the cloud customers. What we see here, it's the flow of functional testing. So we see the code. This is, let's say, the typical DevOps cycle. We see the code and build. We see here that the artifacts are being pushed to JFrog Artifactory. Then to develop the new version, they are being pulled from the JFrog Artifactory. We deploy a JPD, like any customer, to a dev customer. Functionality is being tested. If there are issues, of course, it would go to the code and build. If there are no issues, then we are good to go. And what you could see here in the performance test, in order to make sure that we have isolated RDS and that we do not have noisy neighbor, we actually provide these environments, the load and stress environments, dedicated RDS. So once the engineer run his or her load test, he can be confident there are no other side effects or other experiments that interfere with his test. What you could see here before we go to the admin console of us, you could see here all the metrics that we monitor in order to make sure that the infrastructure is up and running. This is, by the way, live numbers. This is the uptime. Bear with me for a second when I switch to the admin console or to the repo 21. This is how we term it. So what you could see here, I'm just sharing it. You could see here, this is like any customer. You could see the amount of data transfer that we have till now. So quite a lot of usage of Artifactory. And this is, as said, like any customer use. This is actually where we store all of our binaries. As said, we store them in Artifactory. We scan them with X-ray. We run, for part of them, we run pipelines in order to orchestrate the run. We use distribution. All of that is here, and you could see here the amount of data transfer. You could see here the advanced security. This is really how a DevOps company does with its own product. If I go into the Jenkins, and this is a glimpse of, I'm an engineer, as said, we would like to have a self-service. By the way, environment setup Gen2, it's our name, our, let's say, long name, to say I'm an engineer, want to spin up a production-like environment, isolated from other engineers. So here I select my deployment type. In this case, it's cloud. I choose the products that I want to deploy. I may choose all of them. You could see here, if you scroll, what is the deployment size? We have free, we have pro, we have E+. all of that. We have the region, meaning if I want to test it at AWS APS1 or at Frankfurt or any other region group, it's what are the developments team that we have. And the reason that we do that is after that we have internal billing for our R&D to know exactly how much they consume. So for the engineer from from his or her perspective, click on all of these parameters, boom, he get the environment, he can do all of his tests. If cool, he pushes it to release in distribution. If it doesn't work, then naturally a debug phase till the issue is fixed. So this is how we, JFrog, the DevOps company, do our DevOps using our own products. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the webinar.